just never been phenomenal.
Yeah, ever since PM,
Hold
it's
up.
kind of, oh wow, all
We're
of
locked
a sudden
in.
here. You know, speaking of, we were talking earlier about Nova practicing with Bulborbbob. We got Bulborbbob, one of the best players in the region, has been starting to travel out of region and do well too, versus Dade, resident Cloud player, in a matchup that, you know, usually Steve kind of runs over a lot of the cast. This is one of Steve's tougher matchups.
Also got to give shout out to Bulborbbob for having like a 255-0 matchup rating against Hungrybox.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, they never lost to Hungrybox ever before. They played almost 300 times. Propaganda is not a thing, though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't want to say MDVA owns HBox, but
Apparently Bulborbbob does. But this
Bulborbbob
matchup,
does a really solid job.
you were talking about this a little bit. A lot of folks think this might be Steve's worst matchup or second worst, with Sonic being the worst.
Yeah, Steve doesn't really struggle with a lot of characters, but characters that can either really force Steve to think about where he places the blocks or kind of outpace Steve, like Zero Suit and Sonic, are typically the matchups where Steve isn't as, you know, one-sidedly dominant, and Cloud is one of those predominant ones. You know, we see Spargo get #1 in the world, such a dominant head-to-head versus Akola, and we see here one of the reasons why this matchup is so considered so solid for Cloud is that the range and the pressure that Cloud can exert and stop Steve from setting up his whole game is just massive.
It's like Steve loses to Cloud back air. The rest of it's just sauce. Like this character, Cloud back air is one of those moves that if you do not have the ability to respond to it, you might find yourself down 2 stock, just like Bulborbbob is. Dade is showing a commanding performance right now. It's showing that you can go ahead and build your walls. Doesn't matter. I can knock them down just as easily as you can put them up.
Oh, wow. A little weird movement there from the anvil on the block, but Dade has such a strong position here, not relenting with the pressure at all. Up 3 stocks to 1, keeping it going with the back airs, and this is starting to look out of reach for Bob here in game 1.
I mean, we are always only 1 diamond away, plus that NIL landing. That's exactly what Bulborbbob needed to go ahead and get their way back into this match. The problem really is that now, stuck in the corner, you got the wall that's actually helping out Cloud, but Dade backs off, charges a little bit. It's a dash attack to reset the situation. I'm loving that, staying in the mine guard, getting tons of damage before it does get clipped by that limit blade beam, though, and look at this, only a single block of stone left.
Yeah, you've got no materials here, and this is where Cloud can really just kind of, even more so than before, abuse the range that he has and kind of force you to use the little materials that you do have just to keep him out. But as we've been saying that, Bob has not only got a lot of percent, but has a diamond on deck too.
Yeah, this is a little bit scary here, but we're still like, the next hit will do it for Dade. But you got to land the hit, dog.
You also got to craft that diamond. You have no stock to wait for. Not going to end up being able to use it. Started to get a little bit closer at the end there, but Dade putting away game 1 pretty solidly.
Yeah, it feels like the reason why Steve doesn't do well in this matchup, we kind of saw it demonstrated right there, was that Cloud loses to characters that have the burst potential to mix up his back air timings. If he can't just short hop back air, then the character isn't as good because neutral game doesn't play itself. A lot of times we saw Bulborbbob cowering in shield or sitting there like trying to mine, and all Dade was doing is, I'm going to short hop, I'm going to set the lowest possible back air, and there's nothing you can do about this. If you can't beat that set play, then you're not going to be ready for the forward airs, the up tilt mix-ups, the dash attacks, the up smashes. Like, really, that was just really fundamental Cloud gameplay from Dade, showing that he understands the matchup, he understands Steve's threat range, and can play outside of it.
Yeah, and a character like Steve with an option like Minecart is usually a really solid burst option against a lot of characters that don't really have the disjoints or some of the hitboxes to kind of deal with it. But a character like Cloud, range is his middle name, he's got so many big hitboxes he can swing out to deal with the minecart and force you to be a lot more careful.
Walk the Cloud, though. Another back air. We do have limit on available, so that little attempt to build a wall, cheeky though it may have been, not going to claim the stock for Bob. Dade gets the back air, forces Bob into the corner, but actually great little up tilt there, recognizing that Dade was going to just dash it and go for like a grab, it looked like.
Yeah, and we're seeing Bob kind of play a lot more, well, that works too, but we're seeing Bob kind of play a lot more grounded and a lot less, throwing out a lot less moves, right? Being a little less aggressive. And we're seeing them be able to stack up the resources, which has led them to having, I believe, the first stock lead this set, as short as that might have been.
And then actually even pushes Bulborbbob off the crafting table. Dade knows this matchup. This is just a lot of micro interactions that are going Dade's way, and you don't get those without having hours and hours of experience here. I really respect the fundamental, like the foundational game plan that Dade has been solid so far.
Yeah, one of the only downsides, so to speak, of playing a character as strong as Steve is that a lot of people are going to know specific things in their matchup, how to deal with Steve, whereas the Steve player going out into all those matchups might not know those specific interactions. And Dade here, again with the lead, very close this time, not much of a lead if you can even call it that, but forcing a lot of options here from Bob to get out of the corner.
Clanking with that anvil too, like the little forward tilt, just keeping him safe. These options have been very intelligently chosen here, but so far Bob committing to what makes Steve so good, that is safe hitboxes and then just retreating behind these walls whenever being threatened.
Yeah, this has been a much different kind of pace of a match than we saw in game one. A lot of very slow, methodical decision making. Wow, that up tilt back is going to take it really early. A little bit of an overextension from Dade, just like that up smash, and you're going to take a lot of percent for it.
Yeah, not just a lot of percent, 91%. That is devastating. Just managed to land the limit cross slash, but that was a bit of a message sent by Dade.
Yeah, Bulborbbob all of a sudden in the driver's seat here. All it takes is one of those big, not even big hits, but one of those combo starters from Steve and can lead into so much damage. And that's a little bit of a mental thing too.
Yeah, I was going to say up air, up tilt might do it. We just saw right there that percentage window is very generous for things like up tilt or up air, back air. Bulborbbob answers back with aplomb game two, just erasing the disaster that was game one from his mind.
Yeah, and we saw that last stock, Bob only won 2 neutral interactions.
Yeah.
Which was the jab that set up into all of the big 90% combo, and that up tilt that confirmed into the back air. And I was talking about the mental. When you play a character like Cloud, as solid of a character and as good of a character as Cloud is, he doesn't have as much of like an X factor as some of the other top tiers.
True enough.
And when you're winning so much neutral, it can sometimes feel like a punch in the gut when you get hit and take so much.
Well, frankly, it's because it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Every time this character loses neutral, it's like, well, I should have won that because I am Cloud.
Believe me, you can check the logs. I am not a Cloud defender by any means.
I am a Cloud hater. I hate this character with the passion.
I agree with you, man.
But I will say, I wanted to take a look here and see how Dade is done. And Dade does have a ton of Steve experience.
Yeah.
Like 4-4 versus Nope, 3-5 versus Cool Cal, 4-0 versus Sunfish. Like, this dude has been playing quite a few of our region's Steves and has solid records against many of them. Has not played against Bulborbbob, though. And Bulborbbob might actually be our region's best Steve. So what a win this would be. A crown, or a jewel on top of the crown.
Yeah, and you're mentioning that experience is so huge because, you know, when you look at the seeding and you look at the kind of the results between these two competitors, Bob would be heavily favored. But when you have so much experience in a matchup, you can kind of even the playing field a little bit, so to speak. And when you're playing as well and as cleanly as Dade is in this set, so many like pristine interactions and spacing from Dade, you're gonna set yourself up for some success.
A little bit of platform camping right there was Dade. I'm digging that option. Just back off and force the Steve to come to you in those situations. Good parries. I think that's going to be the big X factor. Your Bulborbbob has to hit those parries and then beware of the options directly afterwards. Can't really punish a forward air on shield, so even if you parry, you may not get too much out of it. You got to be ready for that next option, the dash attack there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bread and butter for dealing with Cloud in this game. His aerials are so safe and they're so large, so even if like you misspace them, they're safe. But when you space them correctly, it's not necessarily about punishing the Cloud for hitting your shield or for whiffing. It's more about trying to use that to put yourself in a better position. And Bob in a pretty solid position right now after losing the stock first.
Lost that tool. That's really unfortunate for Bulborbbob right there. It's just one of those where, hey, I'm going to get my big old combo. Why did my pick disappear?
Not going to get too much off that jab string. Didn't walk the Cloud there. You've got the diamond on deck. I don't know if Bob wants to use that. I think I would, but
No,
wow.
Dade thought that they had a double jump.
Well, Dade thought they had a double jump, and we thought we had a stream. I think we were both incorrect.
It looks like it, but the players are still going here, so that is purely a wiring issue on our end. We don't even have game audio right now, so I don't think that we're going to be able to provide updates here. I'm looking over my shoulder like they're shaking it off. Somebody just took a stock. Dade up one stock, perhaps.
A little bit of technical difficulties here, people. Don't go anywhere. We should be on the case.
Yeah, exactly. This
pretty
is
soon.
the good and the bad of these grassroots events. Oh,
Hey!
we're back to us. Okay. So instead of actually getting a chance to see some gameplay, you just have to listen to us yap for a bit while we try to figure out what's going on here. Isn't that the better bit?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure that's what you all are tuning in for, to see me and Scabs talking here.
To see my greasy mug up here.
Yeah, what's anyone really tuning in for except for seeing us yap it up?
That's the best thing about these things. You just get a couple homies on there to talk nonsense for a couple hours, and all the gameplay. That's just a bonus.
A little bit extra.
Just saw
bit
one
of
of
icing on the cake.
one of the other invited players just got in. That's why I got a little bit loud. Squid Plumber. I'm going to blame Squid Plumber stepping in here for losing the stream.
Definitely. There was some kind of EMP in Squid Plumber's bag or something that just shut off the setup.
Devious. He started to throw projectiles in real life.
Yeah, that axe, I think, might have landed square on the switch.
On one of these cables,
Yeah.
potentially. I mean, it looks like the players managed to play it out. So perhaps, yeah, it looks like the game is over. Those two are taking a moment to consider what is next here as we're doing some technical troubleshooting. So bear with us for a wee bit, y'all. Our stream runner du jour has already stepped up to the plate to try to resolve this one. Thank you for sticking with us, and we apologize for the moderate technical difficulties.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who won that game, to be honest. But it looked like it was leaning towards Bob after that Dade SD that we saw.
Unfortunately, for sure. So yeah, actually, somebody said that we lost the game audio earlier as well. Unlucky, already holding it down in chat. Shout out to Unlucky.
Yeah, shout out to Unlucky. That's my dog. Yeah, we'll be right back with, hopefully with
an
a
update?
nice stream with game audio.
Exactly, because the last thing these folks wanted to listen to us for a minute more than they have to.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a moment to actually talk about all of the phenomenal locals that KML is putting on. So you brought up a couple of these earlier on, but we got the KM local on Thursday. We got Mega Drive on Fridays. And what did you say the Tuesday event was?
I believe it's Cut, right?
The Cut, exactly. All right, we're bringing back.
Okay, I don't know what the game count is. I believe it was 1-1 before. Hopefully that'll be updated. But in whatever game this is, game 4.
Game 4, the scores are... We don't know. We lost game, so we don't know who won either. Bob did. Okay,
Bob
there we go.
did.
So it's 2-1
Bob
Bulborbbob.
They
We're back.
didn't believe in us, but Bob did.
So yeah, just like you called it out there, when that ST played a big role, just like that early up smash might play a big role right here.
Nice, solid nil combo from Bob, getting the up tilt, block, up tilt into the thing, or the up smash, not the thing, excuse me. And getting a pretty strong start here as well.
Yeah, this has gone very south very quick. This is all of a sudden Dade fighting for their lives right here.
Yeah, and we see how quickly the momentum can change. Dade, who looked like they were in control for the entire,
That TNT had actually covered the entire platform, and then the nil on the up smash.
Wow, to get up there so fast. Dade not expecting Bob to be in that position so quick, and you can see the tech kind of coming out. And Steve already a really solid character without like the super tight confirms. But when you have those confirms, it makes his character exponentially harder to deal with, and we're seeing that right here.
It feels like that parry was the doom for Dade. Bulborbbob had a complete understanding of what Dade is trying to do. Dade can't really make it back to center stage, does manage to fight back briefly, gets that back here, gets that stock, so second lease on life now. We just need an up.
No, the PB, I think that was...
platform drop?
The block reversal to get the turnaround, to get the bear there.
That is miserable.
like during the drop through, which was really, really good, really solid, because Fair would not have killed in that spot from Steve. And, you know, we didn't quite get to see some of it, but really solid set, especially from Bob. You know, you lose game one pretty solidly. It's a matchup you're maybe not too familiar with or not too favored in, and you keep it composed, and you, I mean, pretty much dominate